Hey guys, Chris Fraze here. Some of you know me, some of you have never met me. Doing the podcast thing. Trying to let you guys know where I'm coming from. Because most dog trainers are coming from a different place than I'm coming from. I dare say all dog trainers. I know I vent a lot about the industry. And I know a lot of people are like, why is he so bitchy with the industry? Because if you know how to read a dog, if you know how to work with a dog and you understand that movement is dialogue, you're actually going to feel bad about some of the things you're doing with your dog. Again, it's your dog. Do whatever you want, okay? But when someone has a problem that they caused through ignorance, and then compound that with the ignorance of a dog trainer who doesn't have the experience that's worth a damn, doesn't understand the dog, doesn't understand the person, doesn't understand the communication between the two, it gets very frustrating because most of the time I'm trying to teach people what the dog is saying and why the dog is saying it, and telling them that they have to stop doing the things that got them to this point. It's very hard. Dog training's an in-person thing, and we're going away from understanding the dog almost at the speed of light. So my journey's a little bit different.
When you talk about stories, you're talking about your journey. And that's literally how I communicate. Always have, always will. It's a very different kind of approach now than just listing bullet points or giving you a PDF or teaching you a technique. Those stories have more ass to them. They have more flavor. They have more smokiness. They have more, passion. The stories are, I think that's more of how I'm comfortable sharing a lesson than just dictating the lesson to somebody.
So how is my journey different? Because I was taught to think. I was taught to understand. I was taught that there are ways to communicate with a dog, and there are ways to not communicate with the dog. The first lesson that comes to my mind is that when I tell the story all the time, when I saw my Czech mentor working with puppies and he was building them with prey drive, I didn't understand what he was doing. So I did my interpretation without any experience, mimicking what he did. So I thought I was doing the exact same thing that he was. He's got a little garage rag out. He's got 7 or 8 puppies. They're probably 7 or 8 weeks old, maybe 9 weeks old, building their prey drive, pushing them back a little bit. Oh, yeah. He was very kind. Not a nice man to people, but a very kind man to dogs, right? So he's building them up. Now remember, at 8 weeks old, they've got these little milk teeth that are very fragile. These are shepherds. These are Czech Border Patrol German shepherds, litter. They're harder dogs, but you could still screw them up. So he saw what he liked, and he put the garage rag on the shelf, and he left. So I was like, well, I want to do that. So I picked up the garage rag, and I'm like, I'm wrestling with him. I'm like, come on. There's much more heat on it for me because I thought these little velociraptors were cool. You ever see the Jurassic Park where the little girl's eating the sandwich and all these little dinosaurs come out and they're like, squeak, squeak, squeak. And she's like, hello. She gives him a piece of the ham sandwich. And then the next thing, she's served up like a buffet. She just gets torn up. That's what these dogs were like. But the problem is that when the little girl was trying to be nice to them, she's feeding them, they got pushy, and then they jumped her. That little girl built up those dinosaurs, and they mistook her kindness for weakness. With these puppies, my mentor's trying to build them early. He's trying to imprint them. I don't understand any of this, and I grab the rag, and I'm like, and I broke a couple teeth, which makes them sensitive. It hurts, so they start chewing. They're at a sensitive age. It's not a good time to be ripping teeth out. Never is a good time. But that pain of having the tooth broken in half or the tooth ripped out because I didn't know what I was doing, is a correction to those young puppies. I'm bending their necks back. I'm not making it easy for them. I have no idea what I'm doing, but in my mind, I'm doing the same thing he was doing. So that number one lesson, he came outside and he heard a puppy go, and he came outside and he goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I go, I don't know. He goes, "Then don't fucking do it." Well, you can't teach that today. You got the point. The point was, don't you dare do shit that you don't know what you're doing. But the boundary was so clear, and I had screwed up a couple of these puppies. Looking back, I was like, oh my God, look at the terrible work I was doing. But when no one's there to put those boundaries on you and explain to you why you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, then you're going to have a different journey than me. Your journey is going to be one of answers, and your journey is going to be one of solutions and methods and dopamine and quadrants. That's the part of dog training you don't have to know. You don't have to know these things because no one knew them 33,000 years ago. Nobody knew them. But they invented that stuff. They didn't invent it. It was always there, but they use it to... the dog training world now teaches you that the quadrants are essential in understanding, or they've got... There's a guy in Australia who talks about how, rats, if you put electricity under rats, how they'll find another way across the metal floor. You're torturing rats, bro. I've never tortured a rat, and I know how to train a dog. It's not the same journey. Now, remember, about 350, 400 years ago, before the Industrial Revolution, which was much later than that, but I'm talking about when we didn't have all the cars and everything, you had one chance with this dog to make your life easier. That dog was there to work for you, to make your life easier, to do the things you couldn't do or you didn't want to do. Couldn't do and didn't want to do. Okay, you got a Chesapeake Bay Retriever and you're hunting geese. It's November and the water's icy cold. Do you want to go in and get that duck? Nope. Does the dog? Yep. Okay. Could you do it? Yeah, but you didn't want to do it. Go to Scotland and you got sheep or cattle up in the highlands in the rocky, craggy, grassy, crazy, windy, rainy. Can you go round up those sheep? No, you can't. So you have to teach the dog to do it for you because the dog is faster, more agile, more mobile. It's designed to get there faster. You can teach it to understand what the job is. It doesn't understand at first, but it does after. No e-collars, no treats, no nothing. Just people understanding how to communicate with the dog. And I think I caught the tail end of that. And then it started to go crazy when Purely Positive came out. That was nuts. I remember the first Purely Positive trainer I saw years ago, probably in the early 90s. I'm going to say early 90s, probably late 80s. And I was like, wow, we're going to treat this dog like a little infant special needs grandchild. This thing's going to kill you. Because if you treat your dog like a human, your dog will treat you like a dog, right? So, there's a lot of experience between what I'm saying and what you should experience to truly understand that that's how the dog thinks. There's a language there. What the fuck are you doing? I don't know. Then don't fucking do it. That message was loud and clear, and the lesson was learned. The lesson was learned. Later on, he'll develop you and explain to you why. Choreograph and then narrate. Choreograph and then narrate. It was a doing thing, but you had to be ready to take constructive criticism. Like, no, because it's so critical in the moment that the more mistakes you make with a dog, or the more confusing conversation you have with a dog, the harder it is to unscrew that confusion. And it's a very, very, very difficult time because you guys don't live in a time where you put your hands on a dog. You don't live in a time where you teach a dog organically. You don't live in a time where dog training wasn't an industry. You don't live in a time where people want to take the time to learn the lessons and learn the language and become so super fluent that they can disseminate that information to the next generation of dog trainers. We have a very, very, very different journey. And that's why I always talk about telling the stories. Those stories are so powerful for me because they were the lessons. They were the lessons. The story I tell you is the lesson I learned it. How you're going to learn that lesson, and you may not, you're not going to learn it to you if nobody's teaching it to you. You're not. So if you don't understand what the dog is trying to teach you, and you just take the advice of the people who are telling you, use food, use an e-collar, use prong, get a muzzle, use place, use the quadrants, talk about dopamine, you're missing it. You're coming from a place where everybody started to teach how to treat the symptoms. And the reason they started to teach how to address the symptoms with the e-collar and the medication and the food and the this and the that, it was easier than telling people you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have a dog. We broke the rules so that the industry could be created. Here comes the internet. Then comes message boards. Then comes, lives. Then comes groups. And it just, the information is tribal. You go where you want to be wanted. You go where people are agreeable. You go where people make you feel special. You go where people take your money to give you a lowered bar result. And because you want to belong in the tribe, you tend to stay there until all the money's gone or you didn't progress. And then you find yourself another tribe. That's the industry today. How can I sell my tribe? That's called branding. And that's a shame. The other part of the industry, other than popularity or going where you feel like you belong, is the people who are ignorant and have desperate problems. Like, the dog bit my kid and I don't want to get rid of it. Or my dog takes off, and if the dog officer tells me again, they're going to put the dog to sleep. Or the dog almost got hit by a car. There's usually an event that makes people want to get serious about dog training, but they have no idea what dog training is. They have no idea what communication is or the dog's perspective is. And what they do is they want to gather information. I'll do anything. That is not a good place to be when you're going to someone who's supposed to know more than you. So I don't know shit about cars, nothing. But if I broke down in West Texas, okay, like nothing there, and there's this old service station, and I go up and I go, listen, man, I'm desperate. Whatever it takes, I need to get this car fixed. How much is this going to cost? And the guy would say, how much you got? Meaning, he's got you by the balls. There's nothing you can do. They know that. In marketing, they use buzzwords. Like, if you have a behavior issue or a problem dog, there's marketing in problems, right? Like, there's marketing in dog behavior. There's marketing in dog obedience. Everybody who markets dog training as they guarantee results, we have years of experience. Our certified master trainers are here to assist you. We care about you. I don't give a shit about you. I care about the dog. The way I care about you is that you need to be told what you're doing wrong. Because if your problems were created in ignorance, in anthropomorphic ignorance, so we're going to solve those problems with more anthropomorphic ignorance, and we're going to add equipment, drugs, prongs, all the correction stuff. We're going to add food to that. That's not the problem. The problem is you don't understand how to communicate with the animal in your house, and then taking it to people who can market buzzwords or teach you something that's been regurgitated to them, and they're heavily reliant on equipment or food or whatever it is. You're not solving the problem. You're jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. That's why I have such a hard time, because I'm always trying to get people to back up and relook at it. And most people are, I want to keep doing the stuff that caused the problem, but I want to punish the dog for the result that my shitty communication taught the dog, and its behavior has to change, but I don't want to change. I need this dog to change. I need it now. I need it in a week. What are you selling me? What do you need? That's how people solve problems now. And the one that suffers because of that is the dog, and people who get bit, or people who get their dogs hit by a car. It's a very different time. So what I'm trying to get you guys to do is go back and look at what a dog is, and then decipher that language. I'll help you, but look at the language. And this is something I was thinking about last night. This was a big deal. When it comes down to dog training, and I'm serious about this, I don't care what certificates you have. I don't care what you do in your business. I don't care if you have customers. I care if I was going to hire you, I care what you can do with a leash and a collar and a dog of any behavior. Meaning if you have a fear-aggressive dog, leash and a collar, can you put the leash and the collar on the dog? Then you don't deserve to train it if you can't. So what can the trainer do when they put a leash and a collar on a dog to understand the dog's story, get as much as you can with the backstory, understand as much as you can, but look at how the people are interacting with dogs. Just look at them. There's a story being told, but we keep missing the story because we're not understanding what the animal is saying. We don't understand that their movement is dialogue. We are told by pet stores and shelters and all the commercial people out there to give the dog a happy life. Make the dog part of your family. Like, it's bored, get it something to chew on. It's not exercise, take it to daycare. These are the reasons, and many more. And we're not understanding that that is what is causing the problems. So we don't talk about what the cause is. We talk about the solutions. We talk about the results. We talk about the number of people you can help. Look, you help someone who's got an aggressive dog with an electric collar and a muzzle, they're going to think that's great because they don't know any better. They don't understand that the reason your dog is aggressive to your other dogs is because of how you live with the dog's perspective. The things you're saying to the dog 9 times out of 10 are telling the dog to go after your other dogs, and you just don't know it. And you know who else doesn't know it? Most of the trainers out there. Most of them. Dog training has gone into this place where everybody's allowed in. There needs to be people who fail at dog training, because maybe you shouldn't have a dog, right? There needs to be dog trainers that can't get a certification because they don't understand something, not because they studied and passed a test, or they paid a ton of money and they got a certificate. This is a lifelong craft. It's something that, you get to a certain point, or at least my experience, my journey has been, you get to a point and things just start to really make sense. The dog I can make sense out of very quickly. It took me a lot of years to understand the people. But now, when you have someone who is telling you that's incorrect, welcome to It's Not the Dog, It's You, where the customer is always wrong. It's not that you're wrong because you're a bad person. It's wrong because you believe the propaganda and you have no need for the dog. Your emotions are out of control. Your perception is not the same as the animal you're living with. And people are capitalizing on that to make money. The more problems that you have, the more money the dog training industry is going to make. So the more money they make, the more they're looking into making the most money in the shortest amount of time to make you believe that they're addressing your issues. And they are addressing your issues. They're addressing them with malpractice. But the problem is you don't know the difference between dogsmanship and malpractice. I don't mind if someone's paying for the experience, but you can't get the experience to them because they don't want to go through the grind of finding out why
things work. Why can't you just tell me? Why can't I just go on YouTube and find a video? Why I can get certified by this guy, I'm purely positive. I don't need this. I don't know. It's a very, very different world. I pushed a lot of limits finding out where the dog was going to teach me something. And I was encouraged to do that. All the teachers that have meant a damn to me never gave you the answer. They never ever gave you the answer. They figured out a way for you to get the lesson. And if you couldn't get the lesson, you couldn't go forward. But you see, but you understand, you know. One of my mentors, the coffee cup every time. Yep, you got it now. That's what's missing. Everybody's forgetting about the teacher. And what a mentor does is kind of introduce you to the teacher student. You think you're trying to teach the dog? Yeah, in a way, you're trying to get the dog to do something, like to understand something, not a result, but a connection, yeah? And so it takes time. It's not something that can be done fast. It's not something where someone with no common sense is going to be able to maintain that for long because they constantly have to be told what to do. Look, people think that way. People try stuff and they don't realize the connections that are necessary to understand the stuff. They don't understand how you can't go past a certain part without understanding the parts before it. Brick 1, brick 2, brick 3, brick 4, brick 5. You know, I remember just finding these lessons where you would be so far over your head with a mentor and they'd say, let's see how you get out of it. You put yourself in a bad spot. I'm here. Usually I say, God damn it. If I'm helping someone and they get into a deep spot and I know I'm going to get bit, I go, God damn it. And because I know I've got to go in there and do leash and collar with the dog. I don't have someone put an electric collar on the dog. I don't have someone put a muzzle on the dog. I don't have someone put a prong on the dog. I don't have someone give the dog medication. I don't try to bribe the dog. And the reason that we're having such, the reason we're having such a hard time nowadays with dogs, and I think people don't understand it, is that you've got the teacher ball gagged and subdued, and you know the teacher's a hostage. The dog's the teacher, guys. That's what people forget. When you put a muzzle on the teacher can't teach. When you keep hitting the teacher with electricity, they can't teach. When you're trying to fast track something that you shouldn't fast track, but your teacher, who's going to teach you not to do that, is muzzled, then the teacher is the hostage. A teacher can't teach when it's restrained. And so that's the big thing. When you look now, everything's pretty much restraint, redirect, correct, stuff like that. If I'm going to look at a dog trainer, and this is the personal part, I want to see what they know. I don't tell me, show me. So my whole route up was around people that would call you out if you ran your mouth hard. They'd call you out. Show me. My friends. I remember one of my great friends, Todd. He's the best friend. He just one of the most honorable people I've ever met in my life. He is loyal. He is smart. He is determined. This guy is he's the best. And if Todd's on your side, you got a friend, right? So we're out in Michigan. He's entering his dog. I think I was judging or something, or decoying or whatever. And I remember a dude named Eric came out from California with a Ring 3 dog to do personal protection. And I got my bollocks up and I said to Todd, watch me make this dog miss. But I had come out of I shouldn't, I knew I was, I don't know, you get that twinge, right? Where you're like, ooh, God, I hope I'm as good as I say I am. So I go out there and
I start shaking the stick, and Eric's kind enough to send the dog. And the dog's got a hurt paw too. It's all wrapped up, but he's fine. It's just, it's not the Karen stuff. It's a working dog, and he's got a little bit of an injury. So here he comes. I try to throw the old okey doke on him with the pivot leg. He grabs the pivot leg. If you want to know what pivot leg is, I'll tell you. Just let me know in the comments. And he just rips my leg out from underneath me, just slamming, shit whipping my face into the ground. This dog is just piling in. So Eric called the dog out. I walk over to Todd and I say, hey, I slipped on the grass. He goes, yeah, if Grandma had a dick, she'd be Grandpa, which means I'm your friend, dude. Don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit me. Your ego got in the way of what you were trying to do over there. That was all. There was nothing educational about it. Yeah, you're right. 100% right. That's your friend. Your friend tells you when your ass is out. So having people around you that know what they're doing and don't think of it like it's, everybody's got it so systematic now, like everything's systematic. Everything's like, if you go to an academy, it's 14 weeks or 16 weeks. If you go to take an online course, that you have to pass this multiple choice, or there's grooming places where you learn to groom a dog online. Guys, that's not real. And the dog is the one who says what the language is. Meaning this, if you keep taking the dog and drugging it, using electronics on it, muzzling it. There's even the calming cap where they put blindfolds on it, where you no jump harnesses where the dog is kind of hobbled. You understand that that's not dog training. I mean, everything you do with a dog is dog training. But what I'm saying is you're taking the teacher, who is the dog, is the teacher. The dog will teach you everything you need to know. And mentors used to let you do stupid shit so you could fuck around and find out. And they weren't going to let you die. They weren't going to let you die, but they were going to say, that's exactly why we don't do that. Well, now, in this new era, the dog isn't teaching anybody. It's people regurgitating information that they kind of found that it's like this false scientific pattern filler. But people now, it's not about the dog anymore. It's just not about the dog. It's 100% about not pissing people off. It's 100% about results. It's 100% about money, followers, likes, anything but the dog. Anything but the dog is it really about. And it's under the guise of it's always about the dog. So when I tell you, when I get down to it, whatever dog trainer's in front of me, and this happened up in the Midlands, and it also happened in Kent. Show me what you're doing. Do not expect me to go along with the charade. Now, if you're nice, I'm going to say, okay, let's stop. Let's start over here. I'm going to start you off. I'm going to try to get you going in a different direction. I'm very polite. But when you try to pull one over on me, when you're lowering the bar, and I'm like, tell your dog to sit, and your dog won't even come near you, what do you want me to say? If you're nice, I'll teach you something. But if you're just hunting results, or you want to be told that you're awesome and you want to tell me how many followers you have, I don't care how many followers you have. If you can't understand the dog in front of you, you shouldn't have them. What I've always wanted to do was get people to understand a different perspective, because the perspective that everybody's going doesn't make sense to the dog. And you can put pseudoscience around it, but you can't teach feel. You can develop feel, but you can't teach feel. Can't teach feel. It takes time to develop. Very few people have it. I hear a lot of people say, oh, he's good with dogs. He's good with dogs. I was fucking horrible with dogs because I had to develop the language. But my teachers were never held hostage. My teachers could bite me. My teachers could object. You know, if you found a dog that you went to put the leash on, you went to put the collar on, and it bit you, there was a lesson right there. You cannot bite me. You cannot bite me, dude. We're gonna give this a shot right here. I'm gonna correct you in a very specific way, very personal way, very feelful way, very thoughtful way, and let's see how you rebound from that. And you can watch every eval. You can watch every eval. I'm giving the dog every chance to understand who I am. That's not about dog training. That's about, this is my school and I'm the principal. And it's the most kind thing you can do for that dog, because in that moment where the dog goes like, yeah, what the fuck? Where that dog goes, oh, I didn't know. I am so sorry. I go, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. And you watch time after time, I forgive and forget. Because that's the relationship. When a dog's coming in, why is it acting like a fool? Why is it trying to be aggressive? Why is it being bratty? Why is it afraid? Why is it hyper? Is it stupid? Is it panicky? Why is it like that? If it's genetics, you're only going to get so far. But I will look at people and say, look, this dog, you as a handler, you should put the dog down. Well, you know what? He wasn't born this way. Yeah, I know. But when you give a dog a correction to tell him, I'm the teacher, you're the student, and the dog isn't thinking, the dog's still reacting, it's an impulse now. They can't trust. It's gone too far. So now this dog, who's not biting as many people as he used to, is still cannot recover from being terrified when it's has stress put on it. So that's at the vet, that's at the groomer, that's if the dog gets loose. It's going to bite you. Now it's going to bite you to give you a quick nip and say, just fucking leave me alone, dude. Just leave me alone. Well, people don't want to hear that. They'll medicate it so that the dog can't. This is what I mean about keeping the teacher doped up. This dog's talking, man. He can't cope. That's where being honest with someone, instead of saying, yeah, I can get your dog to stop biting, here's a muzzle and an e-collar. Wait a minute. Let's think about that for just a second. Do you think you should really own a dog that you have to keep a muzzle on anytime someone else comes over your house and the dog sees those people? Do you really think you should have that thing living in your house? I don't care how attached you are to it. Dog will teach you everything you need to know. But they couldn't do it if the muzzle wasn't on the dog. That makes them feel safe, but the problem's still there, and it's getting worse because the side effects to muzzles are frustration. Frustration. A dog who's afraid or a dog that's dominant, now you want to frustrate it? You want to piss this dog off by not letting it be able to use what's effectively its own hands? Tell me how that works. I don't know. It's hard for me to follow the rules. It's hard for me to know what the rules are. They change based on the human. They change. Like it's okay to keep the teacher hostage and make them say the answers you want. Yeah, does that make sense? I don't know. I come from a different time. I come from a different place. And I understand all your perspectives are different, and I'm trying to get to a place where I can find some common ground and go, okay, but just slow down. Stop thinking about the result. Stop. You're going to spend the next 10 years to 15 years living with this animal. Can we let's do the math. Let's do the math, okay? Let's back up and do the math. Stop being in a rush. Stop. No, I know. This guy down the street, e-collar, sit down, stay, heal, and calm, all manners in 1 week for $1,500. I got it, dude. Go get it. Go ahead. But when you go do that and you finally realize that that's not the answer and you come back, now that dog has had a hell week with an e-collar on. So what do you think that's going to do to that dog's trust? It's not an Etch-a-Sketch. It's not Asteroids where you can just press a hyperspace button and go through the fucking, the wormhole of I didn't fucking just weld the balls off the dog. But now you want me to take this dog that's been even traumatized more and it's been held hostage and it can't express itself and it doesn't trust, I have to try. The first thing I'm going to try to do is get this dog to understand I'm going to put pressure on you. Me as a person. How are you going to try to relieve that pressure? Are you going to try to kill me? Okay, I'm going to have something to say about that. Now, I'm going to take that tool away. What are you going to do now? I don't know. All right, let me give you a suggestion. I'm going to back up. Not turn around, back up. Keep facing the animal, but back up. And the dog goes, I'm going to come with you. Good. That dog has hope. That's good. That's good. But then you get to a point where you've got to reward the dog and you're coming down with your hand to pet the dog or give the dog food, and the dog says, you crossed a boundary. 6 inches, 8 inches, a foot. It's the way you turn your hips, you come down. No, that looks just like the way the guy slaps the shit out of me, or I don't understand that. Or they're going to put the e-collar on, and then the dog freaks out again, and you have to go right back to, hey, buddy, we don't freak out like that. We don't freak out like that. Now, if the dog can recover, how fast does the dog recover? That's where I'm starting to go, okay, let's see how fast you recover. Now, let's see how fast you recover from certain situations. Like, can I touch your feet? Can I look in your mouth? If you can't get there with a dog relatively quickly, you've got problems, man. You've got problems because this dog's got to go to the vet. This dog's got to go to the groomer. They're strangers. Don't we want to know the truth? Don't we want to understand? Well, the guy down the street says if he puts a muzzle on a dog, we get it some medication and we use an e-collar, we can get this done. Get what done? The moment you take all that stuff off, you're right back where you started and worse. The industry is not what you think it is. Dog training and industry should never go together. Dog training and franchise should never go together. It's one of the hardest things in the world to watch because you start to see that if you understand how the dog thinks, most things just don't make fucking sense now. They just don't make sense to me. So I don't know where to start with you guys. I know where I start, which is the leash and the collar. The leash and the collar. Let me see what you can do. Okay, so because you have to want the lesson, but you have to be open to it. And now people don't want the lesson. They don't want the dog to test them. They don't want to see if what they're doing is good. Does it have side effects? It's based so much on the result. It's based so much on inexperience. It's based so much on the same experience. It's results. Your followers, how many followers do you have? If you're a good dog trainer, you should have very few followers because it's not fun to follow someone who's constantly telling you you can do better. I don't know, it's just not dog training anymore. It's not that magic of trying to earn the communication with the dog. So you can be able to read a dog so smoothly, then interact with the dog so smoothly, and then as your career evolves, learning to bring people together with the dog so they can understand each other, not get results, not stop eating the trash, not stop fighting, not stop attacking people, stop being resource guarding. That's all those symptoms happen because people don't know shit about dogs. And the things they're being told to do are creating those problems. So now you go to the electronics guys, or you go to the correction guys, or you go to the food people, and you're just making it worse because you're proceeding from a false assumption. The assumption is that this dog is not listening and you need to get results. The reality is the dog will teach you everything you need to know. You got to let the teacher teach. When you start drugging the teacher, when you start Hannibal Lectering the teacher, when you start punishing the teacher to try to get it to do what you want it to do, you're not going to learn the right things. The dog will teach you everything you need to know, but you can't keep the teacher hostage. Guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. I'm trying with this stuff. And I know, I see in my mind, I want to put up videos that go with these little stories, but I know it makes old man Harrison just apoplectic. I mean, he's tolerating the graphics, right? Yeah, you don't even know what I said, do you? No, she has no idea. So I'm trying with this. I'm going to edit this up. I'm going to throw it up there, and you guys let me know what you think. If you want to hear the stories or if you want to connect the dots further, let me know. I want to do things differently now, and this podcast thing is like, whew, it is not something that, you know, I don't like it. I'm happy to talk to you, but I don't know. I don't like. What do you do? Like, hey, it's the quadrants, guys. We're going to talk all about the quadrants. We're going to talk about prenatal vitamins in breeding a litter. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. All right, guys. You know, I do appreciate you listening. Let me know what you think, and always remember,